Oh man, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen across our beautiful country of Canada, our friends south of the border in the United States of America, in Mexico, Central America, South America, across to Africa, Europe, Middle East, Asia, all over China, Russia, Ukraine. I say good morning to Ukraine or good afternoon. You know, we're all in this crap together. Imagine our world, what a beautiful, great place it would be if we could just get rid of a few hundred, maybe a few thousand troublemakers. They are lying. They are leading people down a path of destruction. You know, I've heard that the number of Ukrainian soldiers deceased in this war is over 100,000. And the same applies to Russia. Over 100,000. Now, before you start saying, yeah, Russia started it, you know, how would United States react if they were going to be missiles by China or Russia in Cuba? Or Central America, even South America. You know, China is making big inroads economically. What if they decide to put up a military base? You know, the U.S. has military bases all around the world. Canada's involved in it up to its eyeballs. And we call them all kinds of names. As far as I know, China doesn't have foreign military bases. And Russia, I think, has one. Whereas the United States has a gazillion, Canada's involved wherever the United States and the Five Eyes go, we're going to follow. Do we want that as Canadians? Is that what we want for the country? We're losing our democracy, our freedom, to these lying pieces of crap. And it's not just the democracy and freedom, but life itself, for billions of humans, is being threatened. You know, I don't know if all life would be extinguished in a big nuclear war. Or the other thing is, what if there's a really bad virus coming? You know, America has labs all over the friggin' place, but I'm not just going to pick on America. I'm sure other countries have great bio and chemical warfare research and stockpiles, even though they're not supposed. But who gives a rat's ass? You know, U.S. was using Ukraine for biolabs. Why?
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
Kind of odd that you can still find this on YouTube, because many things are being scrubbed because, well, you know, you're not smart enough to know what is true and what isn't. So we got to have some big tech executives and little woke people. I'm a little woke people. Little woke people live in the forest. That's where they come from, and then they come and decide your future. Yeah, the woke and the liars out in the open, and nobody cares.
They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this where you're
exactly
going?
What
This is
told.
Where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President?
again with Russia.
I've addressed all the BS in my other YouTube channel, JCV Dude. But I tell you, these 6 months or so that I've been off have been health It's been great for my health. I still follow the news, still get pissed off, all that stuff, but it didn't matter as much. I didn't get up in the morning and even before I get to my desk be thinking about what's going on now. What am I going to have to talk about? Why aren't people waking the F up and saying no more? Voting isn't going to work. I'll say that. If the government wants to come after me, security, whatever, voting's not going to work to change Canadian government. Having Skippy come in after Trudeau goes out isn't going to do a bit of difference. They're cut from the same World Economic Forum cloth. Not only him, Jagmeet Singh and that. The whole system has to be overhauled. Just like the truckers were saying, they got to shut down government and then decide how it's going to move forward. Because all these lies, not only in Canada, but around the world from politicians, well, it's bringing us to a day of destruction that I don't want to see. I don't want my kids to see. I don't want your kids to see. I don't want the people in Ukraine or Russia or anywhere on the planet to be fearing for their future. Things can happen, but not when it's not in your control. If these a-holes start a war, and I'm talking about US and Russia, it's going to impact the world. And if anyone thinks for a minute that if a war erupts, it's not going to impact us here on the island of North America, well, you got another thing coming, because if it's a world war, big news, it'll be coming to our shores. At this time, I believe that it's the Five Eyes that pose the biggest threat to the world, to the globe. Forget about climate change and stuff. Forget about viruses. It's the Five Eyes. The globalists, the Great Reset, the New World Order. Well, the New World Order is coming, but not the same way they expected it. And in so many ways, if people open up their eyes, and I'm not talking about people here, and that's not sucking up to it. I know if you're here, you are troubled by what you see. It's the people that watch CNN or CBC and believe they're being told the truth. Here's the simple fact for Canada. We are not a democracy, even if you believe it is. And the changing of the guard, conservative, Democrat, or liberal, whatever the hell they want to call themselves, isn't changing a single thing. We are in trouble. When the government can freeze your bank account, shut you down, lock you out, spy on you, everything. Freedom isn't given by the government. It can give you permission to do things, but that is not freedom.
Welcome back from the Fox studio lot in Los Angeles. We're happy to be here. For more than 100 years, the United States has, as a matter of official policy, opposed dictatorships around the world. But what if tyranny arrived right next door? What would that look like? And what would our government do in response? Would we liberate the people living under authoritarian rule as we have around the world? That is the topic of our upcoming Tucker Carlson Originals documentary, Oh Canada. Here's a first look at what we found.
The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it.
Some nations may be able to turn a blind eye to atrocities in other countries. The United States of America is different.
Fortunately for the oppressed,
America's influence is considerable.
Roger, target mark by Islet.
Oh, mankind.
We like to say people kind.
Exactly.
All right.
The police then moved in and arrested me.
Bye, Daddy.
In the entire time that I was in prison,
they shot me point blank. My mouth, my nose, my eyes.
I received bruises. My hands were bleeding.
police are under arrest right now.
I was arrested, handcuffed, and put in jail.
The greatest danger of all would be to do nothing.
We care about saving innocent lives.
The tyrant will soon be gone. The day of your liberation is near.
Now, joining me every Thursday is the sharp as a whip UK political commentator and GB News presenter Calvin Robinson. Calvin, let's start in Canada. The PM there, Justin Trudeau, continues to lie and gaslight by declaring now that his government will stand against tyranny and defend democracy.
Canada and our allies will defend democracy. We are taking these actions today to stand against authoritarianism. The people of Ukraine, like all people, must be free to determine their own future. We will continue working with our international partners to safeguard Ukraine's territorial integrity and prevent further Russian aggression.
Now to the latest in the Ukraine war. A lot is happening there. President Zelensky is under fire for corruption. A new report says he embezzled the aid money. It was released by an American investigative journalist, Seymour Hersh, a Pulitzer Prize-winning reporter. Recently, he was in the news for saying that America bombed the Nord Stream gas pipelines. And now he's dropped another bombshell. He says Zelensky and his team have embezzled about $400 million. $400 million. Apparently, this was done last year. Do you remember what else started last year? Zelensky began his sacking spree. He fired many top officials, all for corruption. Now the new report says this was done to placate the US, and that American officials knew that Zelensky and team are skimming millions. They wanted the corruption to be more discreet. This is all in Seymour Hersh's report. He says CIA Director William Burns presented a list of 35 names to Zelensky, and some of those people were fired. Zelensky was under pressure from the Americans, so he sacked some of his people.
Well, to tell you the truth, I just can't believe this. $400 million embezzled out of $100+ billion. I mean, Europe is giving I don't know how many billions a month to support Ukraine's government, to pay wages for their people and lights and all this sort of stuff. You know, the daily upkeep. Billions. Ukraine is a failed friggin' state. Not because of Russia, but because internal politics and corruption. You know, it's been ongoing. Ukraine has been one of the most corrupt countries in Europe, period, bar none. But Ukraine is not alone. There's corruption in Hungary, in Germany, in France, in UK. There's corruption in Canada. Holy smokes, all political parties in the US. Every government has corruption, and they're not hiding it anymore. You like it, good, and if you don't, close your eyes. You know, become one of the three monkeys. See no evil, hear no evil, say no evil.